Soft morning light spilled across the worn floor of the small house. Ryan woke on the couch, stiff and disoriented, the remnants of sleep still clinging to him. From the kitchen came the quiet clink of ceramic and the low murmur of movement. He turned his head toward the sound and went completely still. A woman stood at the counter. Her dark hair was slightly tangled, falling loosely around her shoulders. She was dressed in his white shirt, the fabric hanging long against her thighs as she poured coffee into a mug. Sensing his gaze, she glanced over and offered a calm, almost knowing smile. "You really don't remember last night, do you?" Ryan pushed himself upright, confusion tightening his voice. "Wait, who are you?" She set the cup down slowly, fingertips lingering on the rim. "I'm the woman whose car you pulled off a tree," she said evenly, "and the one whose company happens to own this house." The words landed hard. He stared, unable to move, his pulse suddenly loud in his ears. Somewhere in the hallway his daughter let out a small giggle unaware. The woman met his eyes again, her expression composed, unreadable. "We should talk, Ryan." Ryan Holt was 36, though the constant strain of responsibility often made him seem older. Years ago he had trained as an engineer, a profession built on precision and plans. Now his days were ruled by uncertainty, temporary repair jobs, emergency calls, whatever work came his way. He fixed leaking pipes, rewired failing circuits, patched roofs and broken fixtures, anything that kept money trickling in and the lights on at home. At the center of his world was Lily, his 7-year-old daughter. She had bright, searching eyes and a quick, fearless smile that surfaced even on the hardest days. To Ryan, she wasn't just family, she was purpose, anchor and reason all at once. Life rarely felt secure. Bills pressed close, and every month demanded careful stretching of what little he earned. Still, he held to one belief he repeated to her often. "We might not have much, Lily," he'd say, brushing her hair before school, "but we don't fall apart." She would nod with a seriousness unusual for a child, absorbing the lesson. In many ways, she understood their reality better than most children ever had to. The storm arrived without mercy. By the time Ryan finished his late repair job and headed home, the streets were already drowning beneath sheets of rain. Water coursed along the gutters, tires hissed across flooded asphalt, and thunder cracked so sharply it seemed to split the sky open. He leaned forward over the wheel, peering through the frantic sweep of the wipers. Visibility shrank to a grey blur of headlights and water. Then, through the chaos, he saw it. A car sat twisted against a roadside tree. It wasn't just any car. Even half-crumpled, it radiated wealth. Sleek lines, polished chrome, luxury turned fragile by impact. Smoke coiled from the hood, drifting upward in the rain. One headlight flickered weakly, casting a broken beam across the streaming road. Ryan braked hard and pulled to the shoulder. For a fraction of a second he hesitated, the storm, the danger, the possibility of fire. Then instinct took over. He threw the door open and ran. Rain slammed into him, cold and blinding. Mud splashed underfoot as he reached the wreck. Inside, a woman hung trapped in the driver's seat. Black suit, white blouse, a watch that caught the lightning in brief silver flashes. Her face was drained of color, lips trembling, breath shallow and ragged. The seatbelt cut diagonally across her chest, locking her in place. Her eyes found him, wide, desperate, alive with fear. "Help, please." That was enough. Ryan grabbed a loose rock and smashed the side window. Glass burst inward. He reached through, fumbling for the buckle, fingers slipping on wet metal before the latch finally released. The belt snapped free. He hauled the door open and pulled her toward him. As he dragged her clear, sparks spat from the engine bay. They stumbled away together. And seconds later flames erupted, sudden and violent, devouring the front of the car. The woman collapsed against him, shaking uncontrollably. Her hands clutched his jacket as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. "Thank you, I can't breathe." Her breaths came fast and shallow, panic tightening her chest. Ryan glanced down the flooded road, mind racing. The nearest hospital was miles away, and half the streets were already underwater. Waiting for an ambulance in this storm could take too long. He made the decision in a single heartbeat. "My house is close," he said firmly. "We need to get you warm." She nodded weakly, barely conscious now. He guided her to his truck, helped her inside, and pulled away from the burning wreck, headlights cutting through rain as he drove toward home. By the time Ryan's truck turned onto his street, the storm had settled into a relentless, soaking downpour. His small house appeared through the rain like a dim outline, porch light glowing weakly against the dark. He hurried around to the passenger side and helped the woman out. She could barely stand. Her weight sagged against him as he guided her up the steps and inside. Warmth closed around them at once, the faint hum of the heater, the dry air, the familiar scent of home. He steered her straight to the bedroom, the only real bed in the house. "Easy," he murmured, lowering her onto the mattress. Her clothes were still damp and cold from the rain. He pulled blankets over her, one then another, tucking them around her shoulders until only her pale face remained visible. He checked her pulse with careful fingers, then watched the rise and fall of her chest. Unconscious, but breathing steadier now. Relief loosened something tight in his chest. Ryan straightened, grabbed an extra pillow from the closet and quietly retreated to the living room. The couch would be his bed tonight. It wasn't the first time. He had just settled when soft footsteps padded down the hallway. Lily appeared in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep, clutching the edge of her blanket. "Daddy," she whispered, "who's that lady?" He shifted upright, lowering his voice. "She got hurt, sweetheart. Her car crashed. She needed help." Lily peeked past him toward the closed bedroom door. "Is she going to be okay?" "I think so," he said gently. "She just needs rest." The child stepped closer and wrapped her arms around his neck in a sudden hug. "You're a good person, Daddy." Ryan held her for a moment, pressing his cheek to her hair. "I'm just doing what's right." A flash of lightning burst through the window, turning the hallway briefly white. In that instant, the bedroom door stood slightly ajar, and the light spilled across the sleeping woman's face. Ryan's gaze lingered. Even in exhaustion, there was something unmistakable in her features. Strength held in stillness, authority that didn't fade with vulnerability. Whoever she was, she carried power as naturally as breath. The darkness returned with the rumble of thunder. Ryan settled back against the couch, Lily already drifting asleep against his shoulder. But his eyes stayed open a long time, fixed on the thin line of light beneath the bedroom door. And the stranger sleeping inside his home. Morning arrived quietly after the violence of the storm. Pale sunlight filtered through damp clouds, settling across the kitchen in a soft grey glow. The house smelled faintly of coffee and drying fabric. Ryan moved carefully so he wouldn't wake his guest. He checked the bedroom first. She was still asleep. The blankets had slipped slightly, revealing a shoulder and the edge of a white blouse now hanging nearby to dry. On the nightstand rested a slim platinum watch and a designer handbag, details that confirmed what he had already suspected. This woman lived in a world far removed from his. But last night, none of that had mattered. She had simply been someone who needed help. He closed the door gently and went to the kitchen, starting breakfast for Lily. The steady rhythm of ordinary tasks, cracking eggs, heating a pan, helped settle his thoughts. Behind him he heard footsteps. He turned, and the air seemed to still. She stood in the doorway. His white dress shirt fell loosely over her frame, sleeves pushed up, hem brushing her thighs. Her hair was loose and slightly disordered from sleep, but her eyes were fully awake now, sharp, observant, taking him in with quiet focus. She offered a small, composed smile. "Good morning." Ryan felt heat rush to his face. You're wearing my..." "You left me in wet clothes," she said evenly. "I found this, I hope you don't mind." Her tone carried calm assurance, as if the situation were entirely natural. Before he could answer, Lily ran in, stopping short at the sight of the stranger in her father's shirt. The woman's expression softened instantly. She crouched to Lily's height. "Hello," she said gently. "I'm just someone your dad helped." Lily studied her, satisfied, then wandered off toward her room. Ryan cleared his throat. "I can call you a taxi." "No need," she replied, moving past him toward the counter. "My driver is outside." He blinked. "Your driver?" "He's been waiting since 6. She poured herself coffee with practiced ease, as if she belonged in the kitchen. Ryan stared. "You could have left hours ago." "I wanted to thank you properly." She set the cup down, then reached into her handbag and withdrew a thick fold of cash. She placed it neatly on the table between them. "This should cover everything." For a moment he didn't understand, then his stomach tightened. "What is that?" "For your help," she said. "The bed, the clothes, the inconvenience." His expression hardened. I didn't help you for money. She shrugged lightly, then considerate compensation. Something in him snapped. He picked up the cash and pushed it back toward her across the table. Take it, I don't want it. She watched him without flinching. Most people would. I'm not most people. Her head tilted slightly, studying him as if recalculating. No, she said quietly, you're not. She gathered the money and slipped it back into her bag with unhurried precision. My mistake, I believed I was being generous. Ryan let out a short, humorless laugh. You think generosity is throwing money at someone. Generosity is helping because it's right, not because you can afford it. Silence settled between them. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face, only for a breath, but it was there. I see, she said softly. You're right, I apologize. He didn't answer. She walked to the door, pausing with her hand on the frame. Your name? Ryan, he said, Ryan Holt. She repeated it slowly, as if committing it to memory. I won't forget. Then she stepped outside. The door closed behind her with a quiet, final click. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of routine. Lily left for school, the house fell quiet, and Ryan threw himself into small tasks, washing dishes, wiping counters, anything that kept his mind from circling back to the woman who had just walked out wearing authority like a second skin. By late afternoon he was cooking dinner, a simple meal stretched from whatever remained in the fridge. The television murmured in the background, local news, weather updates, the usual noise of the day. Then a phrase cut through the room. Breaking news. Ryan barely listened at first. He stirred the pot absently. Veronica Chase, CEO of Chase Tech Industries, has returned to work today after surviving last night's car crash. His hand froze. Slowly, he turned toward the screen. There she was. No borrowed shirt now, no loosened hair or fatigue. She stood before a wall of cameras in a sharply tailored suit, posture flawless, presence commanding. Reporters leaned in with microphones, flashes bursting white around her. Behind her rows of vast glass and steel headquarters, her world unmistakable. Ryan stared, recognition settling like weight in his chest. The woman from his kitchen. The stranger in his bed. The one he had argued with. A reporter's voice continued. Miss Chase declined to identify the local resident who pulled her from the burning vehicle. The footage cut to her speaking. He was kind, she said steadily, and humble. He refused any payment. Her gaze, though directed at cameras, seemed distant for a fraction of a second. That kind of integrity, she added, can't be bought. Ryan stood motionless, wooden spoon still in his hand. From the doorway Lily's voice burst in. Daddy, that's her, the lady from this morning. He swallowed. Yeah, kiddo, it is. Is she famous, He let out a breath somewhere between disbelief and amusement. Looks like it. On screen the reporters kept pressing. The ticker below named her one of the most powerful business leaders in the state, known for acquisitions, expansions, corporate dominance. A woman who built empires. And he had shoved her money back across his table. Ryan huffed a short laugh, shaking his head as he turned back to the stove. Well, he muttered, that figures. But as he stirred the pot again, his thoughts raced faster than the simmering boil. Because people like Veronica Chase didn't cross paths twice with men like him. And yet, somewhere deep down, he wasn't entirely sure the story was over. 3 days later, Ryan was on his knees in the teacher's lounge at Lily's school, elbows deep in a burst pipe. The room smelled of damp plaster and metal, and his hands were slick with grease and mineral residue. Just another repair job, just another ordinary day. Then he heard it. An engine, low, smooth, expensive. The kind of sound that didn't belong in a cracked asphalt parking lot, lined with agging sedans and minivans. Conversations outside faltered. A car door shut with a muted, solid thud. Ryan glanced up through the window. A black luxury sedan had pulled into the lot, its paint reflecting the pale morning sun like polished glass. Tinted windows, chrome trim, wealth made visible. The rear door opened. Veronica Chase stepped out. White tailored suit, dark sunglasses, heels striking pavement in crisp, measured beats. She moved with effortless certainty, as if every space she entered naturally adjusted around her. People noticed, parents paused mid-sentence, teachers stared, the air shifted with curiosity and recognition. And she walked straight toward him. Ryan rose slowly, wiping his hands on a rag, grease staining the fabric of his work shirt. He met her halfway across the pavement. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice neutral. She removed her sunglasses, her eyes fixed on his with calm intensity. "Mr. Holt," she said, "we need to talk." He exhaled through his nose. "If this is about money again." "It is," her tone was firm, "it's about truth." She drew out her phone and turned the screen toward him. Grainy security footage filled the display, night rain, flashing headlights, the crushed car. Then him, dragging her from the wreck, face tight with effort and urgency, flames blooming behind them seconds later. Ryan watched silently. "You saved my life," she said, "and I never truly thanked you." He handed the phone back. "You already did by leaving." A flicker crossed her expression, sharp, brief. That was unfair. So was treating it like a transaction. Silence stretched between them, taut as wire. Then her gaze shifted past him toward the playground. Lily laughed among a knot of children, hair flying as she ran. "She's your daughter," Veronica said quietly. "My whole world." Something in Veronica's face softened, subtle but unmistakable. "She's fortunate." "I'm the fortunate one." She stepped closer, lowering her voice so the watching crowd couldn't hear. "Ryan, I came to apologize." He said nothing. "And to make something right. You don't owe me anything." "Perhaps not," she said, "but I want to do this anyway." She opened her bag and removed a document envelope, sliding papers free and handing them to him. Ryan scanned the letterhead and felt the ground tilt. His landlord's property company. "What is this?" "I purchased the building you rent," she said, "as of yesterday." His eyes snapped up. "You what?" "And this morning," she continued evenly, "the title was transferred. The house is now yours, no debt, no rent." For a moment he couldn't process the words. Then he stepped back sharply. "No, absolutely not. It isn't charity." "It is to me," his voice hardened. "You think kindness is something you repay. I don't want your gift." Her gaze held his, unwavering. "It isn't repayment, it's the beginning of something better." "For who?" he shot back. "Your conscience." "For people like you," she said, "who do the right thing and receive nothing in return." "I received something," he said. "I got to live with myself." Her voice lowered, almost roughened. "Even so, everyone needs help sometimes." She paused. "Even me." The admission hung between them. Ryan studied her more closely and saw it then. Beneath the composure, beneath the authority, something raw, old hurt memory. "What happened to you?" he asked quietly. She looked away toward the playground. "I grew up with nothing," she said. "Foster homes, group facilities, I climbed until I could never be powerless again." A faint, humorless smile touched her mouth. "Somewhere along the way I forgot what helpless felt like." Her eyes returned to his, until the crash. Wind stirred across the lot, children shouted in the distance. "You reminded me," she said, "that money can't purchase character, or courage, or the kind of man who runs into fire for a stranger." Ryan felt his resistance falter, not gone but shifting. "So what now?" She drew another document from the envelope and handed it to him. "A foundation," she said, "for single parents, especially fathers. Financial support, training, childcare." He scanned the header. "The Holt Fund." He looked up stunned. "You used my name." "It represents the strength I respect most," she said. The pages trembled slightly in his hands. "I want you involved," she continued. "You know this community, you know who actually needs help, guide it, keep it honest." He stared at the paper, then at Lily laughing in sunlight, all the nights of worry, all the months stretched thin. "If I do this," he said slowly, "we do it my way." Her brow lifted, meaning. "No publicity stunts, no stage charity, real help, quiet." She extended her hand. "Deal." He hesitated only a heartbeat, then took it. Her grip was firm, equal. As they released, she allowed herself a small, almost mischievous smile. "And one more thing." He sighed. "What now?" "I still have your shirt." Ryan blinked, then, despite everything, a laugh escaped him. "Keep it," he said, "looks better on you anyway." Around them, phones were already lifting, whispers spreading, curiosity igniting. But for the first time since the storm, the distance between their worlds felt smaller. The office still smelled of fresh paint and new carpet when Ryan stepped inside for the first time. Morning light spilled through wide windows, catching on polished floors and clean glass partitions. Everything looked immaculate, ordered, intentional, expensive. It did not feel like his world. A discreet plaque near the entrance read, "The Holt Fund supporting single parents." Ryan paused before it longer than he expected. His name. Not on a toolbox, not on overdue bills, not on a rental contract. On something meant to help people. "You're early," Veronica's voice came from behind him. He turned. She crossed the lobby in a charcoal dress and low heels, tablet tucked against her arm. No sunglasses today, no barrier. "Couldn't sleep," he admitted. "Feels strange." "It should," she said. "It's new." He glanced around again. "You built all this in 2 weeks." "I've built larger things faster," she replied lightly, then her tone softened. "But this one matters more." They moved through the space together. Offices, consultation rooms, a childcare area with bright rugs and small tables. Ryan stopped there, running his hand over the back of a tiny chair. "Parents can bring kids during meetings," Veronica said. "No one loses help because they can't afford babysitting." He nodded slowly. "You thought of everything." "No," she said, "I thought of what you described." He looked at her. "You're the one who said," she continued, "that most single fathers never ask for assistance because the system assumes they're secondary parents." He gave a quiet huff of recognition. "Still true. That's why this exists." They reached the main conference room. Staff waited inside, social workers, administrators, financial advisors. When Ryan entered, conversation stilled. Veronica gestured toward him. "This is Ryan Holt," she said. "The reason this foundation exists, he will serve as community director." Every face turned to him with respect that felt almost physical. Ryan shifted his weight, unused to attention without judgment. "I'm not a director," he said. "I fix things." A few smiles appeared. "Exactly," Veronica said. "You fix things that matter." Meetings followed, policies, outreach plans, grant structures. Ryan spoke rarely at first, then more as discussions touched realities he knew intimately. Eviction notices, job instability, childcare gaps. By afternoon, he was leaning over the table, sketching a local map. "Here," he said, circling blocks. "These apartments, mostly single dads after the factory layoffs. They won't come to you, you have to go there." Staff took notes quickly. Across the table, Veronica watched him. Not the rescuer from the rain, not the stubborn man in the parking lot, but the leader emerging without trying to be one. Later, as the office emptied and evening light turned gold across the windows, they stood alone in the corridor. "You were right," she said. "About what?" "Everything we needed to change." He shrugged. "I just know how hard it gets." A quiet settled between them, not awkward, not tense, familiar. She spoke first. "Lily asked if she can visit tomorrow." His expression softened instantly. "She's already planned it, hasn't she?" "Apparently she intends to inspect operations," Veronica said, almost smiling. He laughed under his breath. "That sounds like her." They walked toward the exit together. Outside, dusk cooled the air. "You know," Ryan said after a moment, "I never expected any of this." "Neither did I," Veronica replied. He glanced at her. "Do you regret it?" The question hung deeper than the words. She shook her head slowly. "No, for the first time in years I feel like I'm building something that can't be measured in profit." He studied her profile in the fading light. "You don't seem as untouchable as you did." A faint smile touched her mouth. "That may be the nicest thing anyone said to me." He opened the door for her. She paused beside him, closer than usual. "Ryan," she said quietly, "thank you for saying yes." He met her eyes. "You're welcome, Veronica." "Not Ms. Chase." Her name. The shift lingered between them as they stepped into the evening together. No longer strangers divided by circumstance, but partners in something neither had planned and both were beginning to value. Days blurred into weeks as Ryan settled into the rhythm of the Holt Fund. Meetings, home life, repairs, and Lily's laughter filled his days. Yet Veronica's presence lingered, no longer just the memory of a stormy night or the glare of cameras, but as a living, breathing part of his world. She came to the small shop often, blending business with curiosity, watching him organize tools, checking on Lily, offering quiet suggestions. Sometimes she borrowed his shirt again, draping it loosely across her shoulders as if it belonged there. He didn't complain anymore. One afternoon, the shop was quiet except for the hum of the heater. Veronica lingered near the counter, arms crossed, eyes scanning the neat rows of wrenches and screwdrivers. "You know," she began softly, "I never realized how much courage it takes to live like this every day." Ryan looked up from a cabinet he was straightening. "Every parent fights, every day. I'm just lucky Lily's my reason to keep going." Her eyes softened. She stepped closer, the faint scent of rain clinging to her coat. "And yet you've taught me something too, something I thought I'd lost a long time ago." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh." "Perspective," she admitted, almost shyly. "You reminded me that life isn't just numbers, acquisitions, or success. Sometimes it's about people, about doing the right thing even when no one notices." Ryan studied her for a long moment. Her confidence, her authority, her brilliance, all that remained, yes, but now intertwined with vulnerability. He had never seen her truly lowered her guard before. "I didn't expect any of this," he said quietly, "and honestly, I didn't expect you." She smiled faintly, stepping even closer until the space between them seemed too small to ignore. "Neither did I," she whispered. Ryan's hand brushed hers almost accidentally. The contact lingered. He felt a warmth, a tether neither of them wanted to release. "Ryan," she said, soft and deliberate, I don't want to pretend anymore. That night in the storm you changed something in me." He exhaled slowly, heart thudding. "Veronica, SHH," she interrupted gently, placing a hand on his chest. "Just feel it, don't try to explain it." He let go of words and allowed the moment to exist. The shop, the tools, the quiet hum, they all melted away. All that remained was the closeness, the trust slowly weaving between them, and the certainty that whatever this was, it was real. Lily's laughter drifted from the back room. Ryan glanced over, saw her building a small fort of cushions, and smiled. "She'd approve," Veronica murmured. "I think she already has," he replied, looking back at her. The tension broke softly into laughter, shared and unguarded. The storm of that night had long since passed, but its echoes, the bond it forged, had grown into something neither money nor power nor circumstance could erase. And in that small, unassuming workshop, the beginning of something entirely unexpected, and entirely theirs, took root. Weeks passed and the rhythm of their lives grew steadier, Ryan running the shop, Veronica managing the fund, Lily bouncing between both worlds, completely at home in the center of it all. Yet an unspoken tension lingered whenever they were alone, a quiet anticipation neither had addressed. One evening, after the shop closed and Lily had disappeared upstairs with a book, Veronica approached Ryan. Holding a cream-colored envelope in her hand, the soft glow from the overhead light cast warm shadows across her face. "I have something for you," she said. Ryan raised an eyebrow, curiosity mixing with caution. "Another gift." "Just open it tomorrow," she suggested, smiling but with a hint of nervousness. He took it anyway, feeling the weight of it in his hands, heart thumping faster than he'd expected. That night, alone in the shop, he finally dared to open the envelope. Inside lay a card handwritten. "Ryan, you saved my life in the storm, but you did more than that. You reminded me who I want to be. You showed me that kindness, courage, and integrity matter more than wealth. I cannot imagine my life without you, without Lily, without the man who threw my money back at me and taught me what honor really means. Will you marry me?" The second page was already printed. An invitation, elegant and simple with their names, Veronica Chase and Ryan Holt, centered boldly. Ryan's hands trembled, tears welled and slid down his cheeks. He laughed and cried at once, the mixture of shock, joy, and disbelief overwhelming him. "Daddy, why are you crying?" Lily asked, appearing behind him with wide, curious eyes. "Something impossible just became real," he whispered. "Is Veronica gonna be my mom?" Lily asked, hope lacing her tone. Ryan scooped her up, holding her close. "If you want her to be, yes, she's going to be your mom." Lily's scream of joy filled the shop. They danced together, spinning between grease-stained tools and polished counters, a family forged in trust, courage, and unexpected love. Months later, the wedding was small and intimate. Lily stood proudly between them, holding both of their hands. The officiant spoke, and laughter rippled through the room when vows were said early, hearts too full to wait. At the reception, Ryan handed Veronica a small box. Inside lay the key to the restored truck, the very one from that stormy night. "You kept it?" she asked, touched. "Some things are worth keeping," he said, smiling, "especially us." Lily joined them on the dance floor. The three of them moved together, perfectly in sync, a family that had survived storms, literal and metaphorical, and emerged stronger. Veronica whispered softly, "Sometimes kindness saves a life." Ryan added, "Sometimes it saves two." Lily laughed, spinning between them, "Sometimes three." As the sun set in shades of orange and gold, the three held each other, and while their story on paper ended there, their life together had only just begun. A year later, the bell above the door of Holt Mechanics jingled as Ryan wiped grease from his hands. The small shop smelled of engine oil, metal, and the faint tang of sunlight streaming through the windows. Everything was clean, organized, and distinctly his. Veronica stepped in, wearing one of Ryan's old shirts over jeans, hair loose and casual. "Still fits," she said with a playful smile. "Still borrowing my clothes," he replied, grinning. "Borrowing, sure," she laughed, moving around the shop and touching the tools with genuine appreciation. "This place is perfect, small, honest, just like you." Before Ryan could answer, Lily burst through the back door, backpack bouncing. "Veronica, I got a full-ride STEM scholarship," she shouted, eyes shining. Veronica's face lit up. "That's incredible, I'm so proud of you." Lily threw herself into Veronica's arms. Ryan watched, heart swelling. These two women, his daughter and the woman he loved, formed a family he had never expected but couldn't imagine living without. As Lily disappeared upstairs for homework, Veronica turned to Ryan, a quiet vulnerability in her eyes. She handed him another envelope, cream-colored and sealed. "Open it tomorrow," she said softly. Ryan's hands shook slightly as he took it. "You're terrifying," he said with a laugh. "I know," she replied, stepping closer, "but you make me feel things I'd forgotten I could feel." He reached out, touching her face. "You are home," he whispered. They kissed softly, deeply, the culmination of a year of trust, courage, and shared life. A year of friendship turning into something real, something neither had anticipated. Veronica pulled back with a mischievous smile. "Open it tomorrow, I promise." Ryan stood alone for a moment, the envelope warm in his hands, heart racing. When morning came, he opened it to find a card. "Ryan, you saved me in the storm, but more importantly, you saved me from losing myself. You showed me that kindness, honor, and love matter above all. Will you marry me?" The second page already printed an invitation, elegant and simple. The wedding of Veronica Chase and Ryan Holt. Tears streamed down his face. Lily appeared behind him. "Daddy, why are you crying?" "Because something impossible just became real," he said, lifting her into his arms. "Is Veronica gonna be my mom?" Lily asked, eyes wide. "Yes, sweetheart, she's going to be your mom," Ryan replied. Lily screamed in joy. They danced together in the shop, spinning and laughing, the three of them a family forged by courage, integrity, and unexpected love. Months later, a small ceremony celebrated their marriage. Lily stood proudly between them in a white dress, holding both hands as they exchanged vows. At the reception, Ryan handed Veronica a small box. Inside lay the key to the restored truck, the very one from that stormy night. "You kept it?" she asked. "Some things are worth keeping," he said with a smile, "especially us." They danced together, Lily joining them, the three of them swaying as a family built on trust, honor, and kindness. Veronica whispered softly, "Sometimes kindness saves a life." Ryan added, "Sometimes it saves two." Lily laughed, spinning between them, "Sometimes three." The sun set in the sky, orange and gold. The camera of life pulled back, leaving them in a world they had built together, stronger, united, and just beginning.